Okay, welcome everyone. It's time for day 10, or almost time for day 10. We've got 30 seconds left till day 10 starts. So I'm going to make a directory for that. And I'm going to make a file for day 10. Okay, 8 seconds left. We're going to jump right on this. Okay, here we go. Day 10. Patched into the aircraft's data port, you discover weather forecasts of a massive tropical storm. Before you can figure out whether it will impact your vacation plans, however, your device suddenly turns off. The battery's dead. You need to plug it in. You'll need to plug it in. There's one problem. The charging outlet near your seat produces the wrong number of jolts. Always prepared, you make a list of all the joltage adapters in your bag. Each of the joltage adapters is rated for a specific output joltage, your puzzle input. Any given adapter can take an input 1, 2, or 3 jolts lower than its rating and still produce the rated output joltage. In addition, your device has a built-in joltage adapter rated for 3 jolts higher than the rated adapter in your bag. If your adapter list were 3, 6, and 9, your adapter's built-in adapter would be rated for 12 jolts. Okay, in addition, your device has a built-in adapter rated for 3 jolts higher. Okay. Treat the charging outlet near your seat as having an effective joltage rating of 0. Since you have some time to kill, you might as well test all of your adapters. Wouldn't want to get to your resort and realize you can't even charge your device. If you use every adapter in your bag at once, what is the distribution of joltage differences between charging outlet, the adapters, and your device? Okay, so distribution of the differences here. So apparently there's a 1, 2, or 3 lower than its rating distribution, and then there's a +3 on top of that. So for example, suppose that in your bag you have the adapters with the following joltage ratings. With these adapters, your device's built-in joltage adapter would be rated at 19 plus 3 is equal to 22 jolts, 3 higher than the highest rated adapter. Okay, because adapters can only connect to a source 1 to 3 jolts lower than its rating. In order to use every adapter, you need to choose them like this. Boy, this is like kind of confusing. The charging outlet has an effective rating of 0 jolts, so only adapters that could connect to it directly, the only adapters that could connect to it directly would need to have a joltage rating of 1, 2, or 3 jolts. Of these, only one you have is an adapter rated 1 jolt, difference of 1. From your 1 jolt rated adapter, the only choice is a full jolt rated adapter, difference of 3. From the 4 jolt rated adapter, the adapters rated 5, 6, and 7 are valid choices. Sorry, this is like really confusing me. Because adapters can only connect to 1 through 3 jolts lower than its rating, in order to use every adapter, you'd need to choose them like this. Okay, for your 1 jolt rating, the only device is a 4 jolt, difference of 3. For the full jolt rated adapter, the adapters of 4, 5, and 6, which are 1, 2, and 3 above that. However, in order not to skip any adapters, you'd have to pick the adapter rated 5, difference of 1. Similarly, the next choices would be an adapter rated 6, and then the adapter rated 7 with a difference of 1 and 1. Okay, there's 6 and 7. After 6 and 7, the next one is 11, 10. Okay, the only adapter that works with the 7 jolt adapter is the one rated 10, difference of 3. From 10, the choices are 11 or 12. choose 11, and then 12. After 12, the only is 15, then 16, then 19, difference of 3. Finally, your device's built-in adapter is always 3 higher than the highest adapter, so its rating is 22. Always a difference of 3. In this example, when using every adapter, there are 7 differences of 1 and 3 differences of 3 jolts. Here's a larger example. In this larger example, in the chain that uses all of the adapters, there are 22 differences of 1 jolt and 10 differences of 3. Find a chain that uses all of your adapters to connect the charging outlet to your device's built-in adapter and count the joltage differences between the charging outlets, the adapters, and your device. What is the number of 1 jolt differences multiplied by the number of 3 jolt differences? Okay, well then, let's get started, I guess. Okay, I mean, I'm going to use PyTest for this, just because I'm pretty sure that this is going to require some fun with PyTest. Okay, so here I am. I'm going to CD to day 10, and in there I've got day 10. I'm going to touch test day 10.py. Okay, so here's day 10. Let's get test day 10. And okay, let's make a test here. Def test simple input. Okay, I'm going to test that the first input they have, which is this one right here. So I'm going to say that this is our data. Okay, and what do I want? I want, what is it asking for at the end? Seven differences of 1 jolt and 5 differences of 3 jolts. So what I'm thinking there is I'll have a dictionary that returns a mapping of, like, in this case, 1 jolt to 7 and 3 jolts to 5. It'll be like a counter. Okay, so I'm going to have some function that, given this input, returns a dictionary. So in this case, we have in this sample, there are 7 differences of 1 and 5 of 3. So I'm going to assert that when I call my function, and it's going to be like day 10 dot, I'm just going to call it part 1 with my data, that is equal to a dictionary, and we have 7 differences of 1 and 5 of 3. So I'm going to say 1 maps to 7, and maybe I'll do an integer here instead of a string. 1 maps to 7, and 3 maps to 5. Okay, let's split my screen here. And we're going to make a part 1. That's going to take some text or some data here. What I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to convert it into lines. And as always, I'm going to strip off any new lines at the end of that. So I'm going to say that lines is equal to text.strip. And then I'm going to split that on new lines. And then I want each of those to be an integer, so I can do that with map, or I can do that with the list comprehension. So I'll say int line for line in that. Okay, so that processes all the input there into a list of integers. Okay, so let's look at my input again here. Okay, so I'm assuming, what are we going to do here? I'm thinking I'm going to have a while loop, and I'm going to start off with a number that's going to be, I guess, 1. I'm going to start off at 1. And then while that number is less than the maximum number in my lines, I'm going to keep pulling stuff out of lines there until I've used everything in there. And I'm going to sort of do a counter where I go up by 1, 2, or 3 to pull things out one at a time. So what I'm thinking as I thought that is since I'm removing and adding things, I don't really care about the order so much, so maybe I want this to be a set instead. So I'll use a set comprehension. Sets are great for membership. And then I'll say position is equal to, and we're going to start at 1. I'm going to say while pause is less than max of lines. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to say if pause plus 1 is in lines. I need a dictionary too here. So I'm going to have difference counts. I'm going to call it diff counts is equal to this. That's going to map the jolt to the count of those jolt differences. Okay, so if pause plus 1 is in there, I'm not sure if I need parentheses around this or not. Let me just try this really quickly. Python 3, and I'm going to say 1 plus 1 in 2. Okay, so I don't need parentheses around that. Okay, so if that is in there, then this is going to be a diff count of 1. And I'm going to say 1. And I'm going to say, what I can use, I probably want to use a counter instead. I could use a dictionary, but let's use a collections counter. I'm going to say import collections. And this is going to be collections.counter. This is a nice built-in data structure in Python that acts as a dictionary that allows me to count. So I'm going to say diff counts 1 plus equals 1. And then I'm going to say from my lines, I believe it's remove. Let's check here. Dir on set. And we're going to do a remove. So we're going to say lines.remove, and we're going to remove our pause. Okay, let me just look at this, see if I don't have an off by 1 error. We're going to start at 1. In the case down below, we would remove 1. Okay. Okay, and in that case, then we increment pause. We're going to say pause plus equals 1. And then we'll do an else if for, what do we got? 1, 2, and 3, is that it? Differences of 1, 2, and 3. These are really weird. This is a weird problem. I just think it's a little bit confusing. But kudos to them for writing it out. They did a pretty good job of describing the problem here. Again, Okay, so this looks like it's going to repeat itself. 1, 2, or 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just say for ink in 1, 2, 3. I'm going to do this right here. And then I'm going to say pause plus ink. And then I'm going to say diff counts ink here. And then as soon as I do that, I'm going to break out of our for loop here. If I didn't get that, then I'm going to, yeah, I think that will get rid of that. Okay, so then we're going to go from 1. After 1, we want to get to 4. So we're going to try and search for 2. And if 2 is in there, we will get that. If 3 is in, so we're going to ink from 1 to 3. So pause is 1. We're adding 1 to it. So is 2 in lines? 2 is not in lines. So then we'll go, is 3 in lines? 3 is not in lines. Is 4 in lines? So 1 plus 3, and that is the case. And so at this point, pause plus ink was in there. And so what we want to do at this point here, we'll get 4, we'll remove 4 from that. We now want pause to be equal to not 1, but pause plus ink plus 1. Okay, and then at some point we should be done. At this point, I'm going to return our counter here. So this is our diff counts. Okay, let's push this up the hill and see what happens here. So I'm going to say PyTest, and we got day 10 is not defined. We need to import it. Push it back up the hill. Okay, so we got an error here. And let's see. We got a key error. So here's our input. On the assertion here, we got a key error. Oh, lines.remove pause, because we need to remove pause plus ink. Okay, and I got, here's our mapping. I got a counter 3, 3, 1, 2, and 2, 1. Which is not what we wanted. We wanted 1 to 7 and 3 to 5. Okay. So how am I going to debug this? I'm going to use print debugging here. So what I'm going to do is when we find something, I'm going to print pause, ink, and I'll print our diff counts. So because this is failing in PyTest, it's going to print this out. So Okay, so we start at 1, and we found it at an offset 3. So at that point, we're going to we're going to pull out 4, and we'll be looking. Okay, so I think my logic here, where I increment it by 1, after I pull out 4, I want to keep it 4, and it looks like I'm going to 5 at that point. So I think I need to do this. I'm going to print out one more thing here. I'm going to print out my lines. This might make it a little bit too long to read, but okay. Okay, so I start at 1, and then I found it at 3 off of that, and then I'm at 4, and the one falling 4 is 5, and so I should have 1, 1. Then I'm at 5, I'm going to go to 6, then I'm at 6, I'm going to go to 7, I'm at 7, I'm going to go to 10, which is a 3, then I'm at 10, I'm going to go to 11, which is a 1, then I'm at 11, I'm going to go to 12, which is a 1. I'm at 12, I'm going to go to 15, which is a 3. And I'm going to go from 15 to 16, which is a 1. Okay, so I should have 1, 7, and 3. So let me just move this over so I can see it. Okay, I had 1, 6, and 3, 4. 3. So let me count the 3s. 1, 2, 3, 4 3s. I'm supposed to have 5 3s? One, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I've gotten off by 1 error somewhere. Okay, so suppose you have these in your bag. There's 7 differences of 1 and 5 differences of 3. Finally, your bag's built-in is always 3 higher than the highest. Okay, so let's stick that in there. We got to stick in 3 higher than the highest. So lines dot add, and we're going to add in the max of lines plus 3. Okay, we still have an off by 1 error. So I've got 6 moves of 7. 6 moves of 1, not 7. So what is going on? Just going to put this over here. See if I can put this over here. So here's the 7 moves of 1. We got 1 here, which is the charging outlet has 0. So I'm missing that as well. Okay, so let's stick that in. Yeah, kudos to them for describing the problem well. So lines.add 0. And giving examples here. Okay, and I'm still not getting it. Now I'm getting and I need to start at pos is equal to 0. Okay. Okay, looks like that worked. Let's try this next one here. Okay, so we're going to take all of this and we're going to go into our test here. So I'm going to call this test larger. And I'll just delete that here, plop that down here, delete that, and then I'll delete this, go down to the bottom here, plop that there, go back to the top, and get rid of this. Okay, let's push this up the hill, see what happens here. It's going to fail because the input's bad. So I got, what did we get here? 122 and 310. Is that what we're supposed to get? Let's look at the input here. 122 and 310. Okay. I think we got part 1 down here. 122 and 310. Okay, so now we need to get the output and multiply the product of those here. So let's get the puzzle input. And I'm going to plop it here, I think. Okay, move temp input txt to here. Should have input there. What's the deal here? Do I need to do a sudo? So I reinstalled my Linux here and I'm having some permission errors. So yeah, that's it's annoying. I guess I got what? Okay. Okay, so I guess it copied it, it just couldn't remove it. Okay, odd. Yeah, some things, yeah, I'm not quite sure what happened with, if this is an Ubuntu 20 thing, or, you know, this is the first time I've run Ubuntu 20, but you know, I've used Linux for 15 years or more. I mean, I've used it for more than 20 years, and I haven't seen an issue where I can't move out of temp, so a little weird. Part 1 input. So I'm just going to write a test for this. So I'm going to say data is equal to open, and we're going to say input.txt. And again, if I'm on Windows, I probably want to specify an encoding. I'll say UTF-8. And I'll just read that. That will give me text in there, and that should be fine. Okay, let's push this up the hill. This will fail because my numbers are wrong. And maybe it's in an infinite loop. No test ran. Word count minus long input. Let's see how big the input is. So there's 1,000 lines of input. Input.txt. Weird. So there's 1,000 lines in here, and it's getting up to like really big numbers. 1,000 times 3. I mean, if it's jumping by 3 maximum every time, I'm not sure how it's getting up to these big numbers. Odd. Okay, so I'm just going to let this run. Maybe it was running here. And because it has such big numbers, it's taking a long time. Let it just churn for a little bit. Gonna look at my task manager, and of course, you know, if it's in an infinite loop or not really going to be able to tell the difference there. So, I mean, looking at my task manager, I am running this vmmem, which is my virtual machine, I believe, which is what's running there. And I guess everything's sort of abstracted, but it's just, that's the process that's running, and it's running inside of that process. I mean, this shouldn't be a particularly slow algorithm. We've got n items in here, and we're basically, for every n item, we're doing a for loop with 3 things in it, so it's like a 3n operation here. So what's going on here? Why is this slow? I mean, one thing that might be slow is this print here. Maybe I'll comment this out and kill that. Just thinking that maybe I'm writing too much with all those sets with 1,000 things in them. Okay, I'm just going to let this run for a little bit. Again, I'm not quite sure if I'm in infinite loop or not. What I'm thinking is I'll let this run for a little bit, and if it doesn't return, again, I am confused why it's taking so long. I mean, one thing that's interesting to me is that I don't know if Windows is like throttling performance on my CPU here. So you can see that my CPUs, it says they're using 60% of them. And I've got like full speed turned on. You can probably hear my fan going in the background. So I'm not sure why it's not pinned here. Am I doing something very slow? I am taking the max of lines every time, which is kind of slow. Let me fix that. So I don't need to take the max of lines every time. I can just get largest is equal to max of lines and calculate that once. And then I don't have to do that every time through my loop. So it ran for like 2 minutes and didn't finish. That seems crazy. So we are using sets here for lines. And so those should be really fast operations, right? Like saying if pause plus ink is in lines and then lines dot remove. Those are fast operations. Yeah, I don't think this should take this long. Okay, what I'm going to do is maybe I'll leave this running and I'll start a new terminal here. And let me start a new terminal. And okay, so what will I do in this other terminal here? Thinking I'll just add a call to run this not inside of a test. So maybe I'll do this here. Okay, I'm going to kill that again. Maybe that was the wrong thing, but I mean, it's just taking so long. It shouldn't take this long. So I've got this part 1 input, test part 1 input. I'm going to say set test part 1 input, and I'm just going to run this here. And then I'm going to come up here and let's put our print debugging back in here. And then instead of saying PyTest here, let's run Python, and we're going to run test A10. Okay, I'm going to kill that because it's just too much information for me. We got lines in there. So let me just get rid of lines here. Maybe I'll do the length of lines. Make sure that that's decrementing. Okay, it's just getting to really large numbers and it's adding a bunch of numbers in here. So I can see that we're not just incrementing by 1, 2, or 3 multiple times, but we're sort of we're trying to do our for loop. If we find a match there, I'm breaking, but if we go through there without breaking, then I also do a pause inc. And it gets to really big numbers at the end here. So I guess it's just taking a long time to run. Okay, so how would we make this run faster? We could use something like Numba. Numba might make this run faster, but that would require probably a bit of refactoring to make that run faster. I guess what I'm confused about is I thought you could only jump 1, 2, or 3, but I'm keeping jumping 1, 2, or 3, and these numbers are getting very large in here. So I'm not quite sure why that's allowed. I thought the next number had to be within 3 of where you are. Chain that uses all the adapters, there are 22 differences of 1. So find a chain that uses all of the adapters to connect the charging input to your built-in adapter and count the voltage differences. What is the number of differences multiplied by that? Okay, so is that my problem? I have like a bad input? You gotta be kidding me. Okay, so apparently I have a bad input. So I've just been like futzing around here. Save as. Yes. I don't know where that input came from. Copy temp. rm temp input txt. Yes. Okay. I'm going to look at my temp input here that I downloaded. Whoops. And I guess that's it. I'm going to copy that to input.txt. That's super weird. Okay. Python test day 10. Jeez. Okay, well, sorry about that. Super annoying. Okay, so I'm going to go in and change my test here and get rid of that, since I just spent like, I don't know, 15 minutes like doing stuff that was just because I downloaded the wrong file somehow. Get rid of that test day 10 and run PyTest here. And I don't want this print information here. Okay, so I want 64 times 7. Okay. Let's just, whoops. We'll just fix our problem here. So 164, 332. No, it's not 64 times 7, it's 64 times 32. And then I want to assert, I'm just going to assert that the sum of, let's call this res here. And I'm going to assert that res is equal to this. And then I'm going to assert that the sum of the res values is equal to, I'll say 0 here. Um, 96. (64 times 32 is 96. It's not the sum, it's the product, right? Is it product or sum? Multiplied. So we're going to do a product here. So yeah, I just do, we'll import func tools, and we'll do a reduce here. Func tools, and we'll say func tools.reduce, and we're going to reduce a lambda that's going to take x and y, and it's going to return x star y, and we're going to do that over the values here, and whatever that is, it's not 0. And it's 2048, famous number. Okay, let's see if 2048 is the right answer. I mean, this is one that you could guess, I guess. 2048, 42, 2048, right answer. Okay, so apologize for the delay in that. Somehow, not sure if that's like yesterday's input. Let me just check if that's yesterday's input. Just curious how I got that. Yeah, that's yesterday's input. Ugh, apologize for that. Okay, let's look at part 2 here. Okay. So this says to completely determine whether you have enough adapters, you'll need to figure out how many different ways they can be arranged. Every arrangement needs to connect the charging outlet to your device. Okay, I'm going to actually end this here, and then I'll do another one. So if you're watching, just go to wherever you're watching, and I'll do a new one here for this.